When you let go of some of that extra stuff that's hanging around and it's cluttering up your time schedule and it's cluttering up your energy level and it's cluttering up your relationship level because you've got so much stuff and you start letting some of that go, you feel so much better and then life gets better. And you have
Mm.
more time to do the things that you want to do. Because trust me, you don't want to spend an entire Saturday cleaning your garage. You want to spend maybe an hour working on some stuff, and then you want to go out and enjoy the day. You want to go and go get waffles with your kid, or go ride your bike in the park, or get a kite and fly it. Do
Yeah.
something fun that's relationship building and interaction and movement and all the good things.
And I love that you say that too, because even when you're looking at the mess and not doing anything, it's still taking up the energy in your mind that you're doing something. And it's usually just freezing. What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast.
Yeah, that's one of the statements that I say a lot is make a plan and just remember it's editable. You can always change it.
Yes, exactly. So many people are. I was actually talking to somebody about this, probably, I think one of my clients. People are so afraid to make a decision because they think it's going to be the wrong decision, but you don't know if it's the wrong or right one until you make the decision. And so, like you said, everything's editable, everything's figureoutable, and everything works outable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just start, you know, put a pin somewhere and start making a move towards it. And if you're not supposed to go that way, the pin will move itself. And you can
Exactly.
course correct as you go.
Yeah. That's huge in the entrepreneurial world. I think I said that word correctly.
You did. I can't spell it to save my life. Everyone's
Exactly.
like, you've been an entrepreneur for like 15 years. I can't spell the word.
There you go. Well, speaking of that, can you tell me a little bit about who you are? Who is Lianne Hofer, the chauffeur?
The chauffeur. So, yeah, I'm a home organizer and I've been doing it since before it was popular and help people just deal with the stuff in their house. It's
Mm,
amazing how much the interior of your home can affect so many other aspects of life.
yeah. Can you go a little deeper into that? I'm very much into um, all aspects of health rather than just eating and moving. And one of the things is decluttering the spaces around you so that your mind also becomes decluttered. And vice
Yeah.
versa, you can declutter your mind and there, and then your spaces around you will become, it's like a cyclical thing. So could you go deeper into that, like how it affects our health?
Yes. So it totally is, they go together without a doubt. I mean, how can you make healthy foods when the piece of equipment that you need in your kitchen is buried behind four other pieces of equipment in your kitchen? You're not going to do it. You're going to
Mhm.
pick up the phone and call Uber Eats or DoorDash or one of those companies and have food delivered. You're not going to prepare it yourself. So, one of the things that I love about working in someone's home is when we are able to declutter and remove the things that have accumulated that aren't being used is seeing somebody jumping up and down, seeing grown women roll around in their master closet because they now have floor space. Um, you know, taking out the things from I can go on all day. Tell me when to stop.
Keep going.
Taking
Love it.
take out the take the things out of your master closet that are either too big or too small. Just take them out And have the things that I'd rather someone had 10 things in their closet that fit and they felt awesome putting on and they knew when they put it on they were going to feel good, and take everything else out. If you do lose the weight, you've got a tub stored somewhere where you can go and grab it. And if you do lose the weight, do you really want to wear the stuff that you wore 20 years ago, or do you want to go shopping and get some new things? And taking out the things that are too big, take those out, because those are just an excuse to sit on the sofa and eat a bag of chips. I'm going to eat a fat day tomorrow. Take those things out so that you do stay mindful of what you're eating or how much you're moving. And if you need a few things, keep a drawer full, sure, because those days happen. But
Yeah.
they should be the exception, not the rule.
Right. Yeah, I was going to add to that. Like our bodies are supposed to change over time. They're not supposed to stay the exact same. And especially as women once a month, some of us go up one or two sizes. And so it's just I love how you don't say throw it away, but keep it somewhere that you still have access to it, but it's not in your face all the time.
Exactly. Exactly. If
Hmm.
you need it, you need to put your hands on it. And some of us do have a large fluctuation of sizes, during the course
Hmm.
of time. And that's okay, for
Yeah.
sure. We should feel better about ourselves. We've got all these messages that come in that say, you're not good enough if, and no, you are. You're perfect just the way you are. Find a way to make yourself feel good where you're at, and the rest of it falls into place.
Hmm. Yeah. My lifelong message was that I take up too much space. Nobody ever said that to me, but I was bullied for being the fat girl. And so that's what it was. And then I'm like, I don't take up enough space, like
Right.
mentally, energetically, So I'm gonna take up as much space as I want.
Take as much space as you need. There's enough space for all of us.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's another message, right? Like we get, you take up too much, so there's not enough for me. No, there's enough for all of us.
Yes. Exactly.
Take what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you say that like say somebody always lives in a mess. How does that affect the mess in their head?
Mm, definitely. What's happening on the outside is mirrored by what's happening on the inside, which is
Mhm.
mirrored. They're definitely mirrors. So when I'm working with somebody, so if somebody's a true hoarder, they have to have some mental help going with it. So, some professional
Mhm.
mental help. I am not that person. I know where my parameters are. I can be
Mhm.
encouraging, I can be positive and uplifting. I am not a therapist. So, I'm aware of that. But as far as the space around you, if you are feeling like it's cluttered and it's filled with stuff, just set a timer for 5 minutes and see what you can accomplish. Just 5 minutes. And maybe it's taking a small shopping bag, like a grocery bag, and just fill it up with the trash. That's it. That's okay.
Mhm.
That's a positive improvement. I have a online support group for clutter, and somebody cleared off a shelf, and that was a huge accomplishment for her this week. She's had a lot of emotional things that have been going on, and we all celebrated it. That was awesome. That's one space that's
Yeah.
decluttered. She's good to go.
Yeah, and I bet metaphorically it decluttered a shelf in her mind too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the clutter pulls your focus from what you're doing. So if you're focusing on all of this stuff going around you, you can't focus on what you need to focus on. So if you
Right.
need to work, it's hard to work when you see a sink full of dishes and a counter filled with who knows what and kids' toys all over the floor and, all the things, laundry hanging over the railing and, all that stuff. It's hard to focus.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this? Did you have is there a story behind it, or were you once a messy person? Are you still a messy person?
Nope.
Nope.
It's a co
That
this
was just
was
me playing Katie guesses.
I like it. I like it. So I've always been neat and tidy. because I grew up in a home that was not.
Mm,
And I watched my mother have a lot of depression and just a lot of low energy. And when I would tidy the living room, the dining room table, and back then we got the daily newspaper, right? So you had the daily newspaper, you had the afternoon newspaper, you had papers from school, we had papers from different kids from school, we had the mail, we had, all the things that came home. And I would tidy that table. And when I tidied the table, she felt better.
mm,
And it was like, oh, well, what would happen if I refolded some towels? So I'd go into the linen closet and refold some towels, and that made her feel better. And then it was like, oh, well, what if, what if, what if? And it kind of grew
yeah,
from there. And I didn't actually start doing this as a business until just 15 years ago is when I started. And it started with being at a friend's house at 10 o'clock at night looking for a snack. And she's like,
yeah.
that's what you need to do. You do it without even thinking about it.
Did you organize her refrigerator?
And her pantry and her junk drawer. And yes.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So for me, it's almost like a stress release. Like, let me, I always tell my clients, you're letting me feed my neuroses of wanting to organize everything.
Mm.
And then they feel better and I enjoy it.
So, do you find that different people need to be organized in different ways?
Absolutely. Some people need to see how things are, other people need things put away. There's people who are closet messy people. So when you
Mhm.
look at the counters and the tables and the chairs, everything's neat. But if you open up a cupboard, you may have to duck because stuff will come flying out or you can't get the drawer open.
Mm. I feel like
So,
that's me in some ways. Like the house is nice, but then you open the garage door and you're like, whoa, there's all your stuff. I'm
and
working on it.
everybody's got stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody's got stuff. I had one client that had bins and bins and bins, and she literally would go to the counter and just sweep everything into a bin, close the bin, put it in her, well, she put it in her bedroom. I was like, we got to get that out of your bedroom. Your bedroom needs to be a place of respite. It needs to be serenity, and all
yeah,
of this going on is not ideal. Let's get that out of there.
yeah. I started doing that with my garage. I was putting things in bins with the intention of going through the bins later on, and now I just have a bunch of bins full of random stuff,
Stuff.
stuff,
Stuff.
and lots of recyclables. So it for me though, it's more like I don't have a lot of time to go in there and like clean the whole garage. But the last organizer I spoke to, she's like, go in for 15 minutes a day and do that. I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't have to all be at once.
Hmm.
Sometimes my brain is like, all or nothing.
Well, I think that's what we tend to think, right? I'm going to take the
Yeah.
whole day off. And then the next thing you know, you've only done really a short time of what you set out to do. Whatever it is that you set out to do, recording a new course, sending out emails, whatever it is, you're distracted by all the other things.
Yeah.
I just had a call this afternoon from a friend of mine, and he's like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm getting ready to move. I said, set a timer. He's like, oh. I said, just set the timer for a half hour. You can do a half hour. And at
Hmm.
the end of a half hour, if you're like, I got another half hour, then click another half hour on your timer. And when it's over, take a break. Go for a
Hmm.
walk, get a drink, call a friend, and then come back and set the timer for another half hour. You'll get more accomplished than if you set the whole day aside and you just sat there turning in circles all day.
Yeah.
And
And
the
then
good thing about you being in bins, you can just do one bin at a time.
yeah. And most of it is probably stuff I'll get rid of. I am in a like most of my house is organized now because of this entire concept of messy house, messy mind, messy house. And I know that was holding me back from a lot of things for a long time, which was what inspired me to add that to my pillows of health is decluttering everything around you. And I still have that one last space to just And so, oh, I had a point. Where was my point? Oh, so the tackling it a little bit at a time. That way you still feel like you're accomplishing something and you don't feel like you're putting up a wall to ignore the thing that needs to get done.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you lose weight? How do you eat healthy? You start with one
Hmm.
thing at a time.
Hmm.
Start increasing your water, drinking more water. Okay, I got the water thing down. Okay, now let me take out the afternoon candy bar and replace it with an apple with peanut butter. Okay, now I got that going. Now I can add in, right? I mean, if you try to change everything at once, then nothing changes,
Yes, exactly.
typically.
Yeah. And I love
So,
that everything that you just mentioned was adding in. That's my philosophy. People tend to hate the restriction. Like if when you start to restrict, that's when you want to tend to go for those things. But my thing is instead of taking a list of 58 foods and taking them all out of your diet, how about you add a salad to lunch every day for a month? Just start there.
hmm
You know, add the water, add the, ooh, I like you said, what did you say, peanut butter and apples? That
yeah,
sounds
take out
good.
the afternoon candy bar and do a peanut butter and an apple. You get the sweet and you get the protein, so you have that satisfiedness. And who
Hmm.
doesn't like peanut butter? Well,
I
unless you're
mean,
allergic, but
I
it's
used to
peanut
hate
butter.
peanut butter. It's weird, but that's a whole other story. I used to not like it as a kid, but I like it now.
Well, there's lots of other things that are healthy that
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
do. I mean, vegetables and ranch dressing. I mean, there's lots of things.
Hmm.
But
So are
if,
you, oh, go ahead.
yeah, don't just one thing at a time.
Yeah. Um, I remember I can't remember what you said in the question where I said, what's your specialty? It was organization and something else too, right?
So I'm a certified mental wellness coach.
Okay.
I'm a Reiki master and a Reiki master teacher. And I'm a certified happy for no reason trainer.
Ooh, what's that?
So, do you remember the movie The Secret?
I've never seen it.
Okay, well, the movie The Secret came out, I don't know when, 20 years ago. And one of the contributors was Marcy Shimoff, and she wrote a book called Happy for No Reason. And I'm certified to teach what she talks about in the book, which are different. I've added to it since then, but it's different pillars of being happy. And
Hmm.
one of the pillars is make your cells happy, which is right what you were talking about with food.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
What else makes us happy?
community, being
Hmm.
in community, having a supportive group of people around you or people that think the same way. Um, letting love lead, leading with your heart. Don't believe everything you think. Oh, I love that one. Do you want to do something?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Let me get a drink of water.
Oh, I'm going to take one too.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, see the little wrinkles that are on your wrist?
Hmm.
Line them up together like so that you kind of have like a little lotus flower
Should I
going.
take this off?
You don't have to.
Okay.
And then put your hands together and then look at the tops of your fingers. See how the tops of your fingers are right about the same?
Hmm.
Now take your non-dominant hand and hold it in front of you. Just drop your dominant hand down and look at your hand and say, grow, grow. Got to talk to it. You actually have to say the words. Grow
Grow,
hand, grow,
grow
grow
hand,
big, grow
grow,
tall, grow
grow big,
long, grow big,
grow long,
grow, grow, grow,
grow,
grow.
grow,
Grow hand, grow. You can do
grow.
it. Grow. Okay. Now line up those little wrinkles on your wrists again. Put your hands together and notice that that hand is a little bit taller.
Hmm. Especially my
So,
middle finger. What does that mean?
whatever you want it to mean. So, what that is that what you think has a huge now your hand won't stay that way if you go back and look at it a little bit later. Your hands go back to
Right.
normal. But um, what that is an exercise in what you think and what you say highly influences everything around you.
Hmm.
So when I'm working with someone and they tell me, gosh, I'm a hot mess, I'm like, yeah, you went through a lot of life. Oh, that changes how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I was working with a family, the mom and dad were getting ready to downsize and move from a three-bedroom house to a one-bedroom apartment. And she said, oh, look at all this junk I have. I said, look at this rich, full life you've led. It changes the whole dynamic, the whole energy around it. And
Yeah.
it made it much more fun to go through and to look at the newspapers. And she grew up in another country, so we got to look at some of the American news from an entirely different standpoint, which was really cool too.
Mm, that's cool. Yeah, we talk a lot in my coaching community about, like, we jokingly say being a language cop, but just that shift in our language. For example, a lot of my clients have used the words, I am struggling with XYZ. I think the most recent one was, I struggled with weight my whole life. And if you just shift it to, I am experiencing this, then it takes away any negative or positive energy just by changing the one word, right?
Hmm.
And so for the listeners, like, pay attention to your language. And if there's something that doesn't sit well with you, um, think about how you can replace whatever word it is that's making you feel icky.
And be aware of the word that's making you feel icky. Like sometimes we're
Hmm.
just not even aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, when I go into someone's home and they're getting ready to sell their home, and we have that conversation of what's going to stay and what needs to be tucked away, released, moved, donated, whatever. I always say, I talk about the chair. Everyone's got the chair that's got the stain from your hair, the dog's laid on it, the coffee has been spilt on it, it's threadbare in the corner, it's the favorite, everybody fights to sit in it, it's the chair. But the chair is not going to look good in a photo to sell your home. So instead of saying, can we get rid of that piece of crap chair? I mean, how are you going to respond when I say that to the favorite chair? But if I say, gosh, that chair has been very well loved, can we just move it out of the space for the photos and for selling? And then if you want to bring it back, you can. It changes everything.
Yeah. I love that. And I even thought of the chair in my house when you said
See,
that.
everyone's got the
Yeah.
chair.
I actually have a set of chairs. When my mom and my brother and I moved in with my stepdad, he had these two chairs in a giant theater room, like with a screen, like they were fancy. And when we moved in with him, they were old. So somehow they're in my house now, and it's been, ooh, I was 15 and I'm gonna be 40, so however long that is, we've had those chairs. And I don't think he even knows where he got them. But they've been used and loved and spilled and broken, and they're, even though they're broken, we still use them.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I love
Mm-mm.
it. They
Yep.
are covered with a nice little cover that we bought to have it match our couches, but um yeah, I love that you mentioned that.
Because everyone's got it. And
Yeah.
it's just the same as anything else. Whatever it is, if you love it and it makes you feel good, then it's okay. It's when it doesn't make you feel good that it needs addressing.
Hmm.
So it's interesting when someone has me over and they say, well, what do you think? Well, what are you looking to accomplish? Because what I see and what you want can be two very different animals.
Yeah.
I mean, in my house, my counters are bare, and that can feel cold to someone who likes stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, what feels right for you?
What about the people who like the counters bare, but other
Mhm.
people in the house like the stuff? What
That's
happens
where
when there's a conflict?
then we have to compromise. Then it's a conversation, right? It's a
Mm,
talk it out. And sometimes having somebody who's not involved and doesn't choose a side is a good person to have there. And that's where a professional organizer can be helpful, because I don't have a stake in the game. And honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I don't have a feeling one way or the other. I just want you to be happy.
mm, I love that.
So let's talk it out. Okay, well, let's try it. And that's the other thing. Here we are back to what we started this whole conversation with. Everything is editable. So just because
Hmm.
we put something out doesn't mean we can't take it away or try something else later.
Yes. Yeah. That's another thing. I don't remember if we were recording when I said people are afraid to make decisions because they think they're afraid they're going to make the wrong decision. People also forget that after they've made the decision that they can change their mind.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and when we're just talking about stuff in the house, this is where the garage comes in handy. So 50% of homeowners will call the garage the most unorganized room in their home. But the garage can be a great place as a stepping stone in the letting go process. I think I want to let it go, but I'm not sure. Put it in the garage with a date on it,
mm,
either today's date or a couple months, couple weeks, whatever, down the road. And if you haven't gone back into it at that point, you can let it go. You're probably pretty safe to let it go at that point. So if you have a bag of clothes and you're like, these are pretty small. I don't think I'm ever going to get back into them, but I really liked them back in the day, but I'm not sure I'm really ready to let them go. And you start doing that whole waffling thing. Put them, and the other trick, black trash bags. You've
hmm.
made your decision. You don't if you see it, you'll second guess yourself and start rummaging through it. If it's a black bag, it's knotted, it's dated, it's in the garage, it's dated for 3 months down the road. 3 months down the road come up. You haven't unknotted it, broken into it, haven't even thought about it. You can put it in the back of your car and drive around with it for 3 more months before you actually take it to donate, because that's what we all do.
Oh my gosh, the amount of times we've done that.
I always say the frequent flyer miles that we could get off of our stuff could be good.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to step it out if you're kind of afraid to make that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you're like, or say it was, I don't know, a kitchen gadget, and you put it out in the garage with a date, and then 2 weeks later your kids came home and you needed the gadget. Great, you still have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's community. What do your neighbors have that you could borrow that you don't have to hold on to?
There you
We
go.
we didn't have a wheelbarrow, and our neighbor didn't have a hedge trimmer, so we would swap.
I like
It was
that.
great.
And
Yeah.
then you make friends, especially these days where people don't know their neighbors anymore.
No, it's not the same.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of that in COVID where people were hanging out like on their driveways and in the streets and stuff at night, but that was the first time a
Yeah.
lot of people even talked to their neighbors.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah, unless you've got kids, you're not spending that time outside. And even if you have kids, sometimes you're not.
Yeah, that's true. Too many electronics.
And busy schedules and all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Life just isn't the same as it once was.
Yeah. Even me, I grew up in the 90s and we'd ride our bikes, 3 blocks down the street. Came home at night when it was dinner time. Nobody,
Mm-hmm.
not that our parents didn't worry about us, but it wasn't like now if our kid rides down the street on their bike, they'll get CPS called on them. The parents will. And it's like, and then trick or treating. All these examples are coming. I went to take my son out trick or treating for the first time
Mm-hmm.
because we always get so many trick or treaters at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through like 3 or 4 bags of candy. So I was like, okay, let's go out and trick or treating. The kids that come to our house get dropped off in cars and then picked right back up. Nobody's walking the streets in their costumes anymore. I was so devastated.
Oh,
I
wow.
was so sad. I'm like, but when I was a kid, we waited till dark and then we put on our rollerblades and grabbed our pillowcase, went trick
Right?
or treating. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we used to go out and go home and dump our bags and go back out again.
yeah. So it's so different.
That is different. Our
Yeah.
our community still goes, they still walk in groups. The parents get together and frequently and walk in
Yeah.
groups. I've
That's
still
good.
seen that.
Yeah. We have
Yeah.
trunk or treating now. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, ours is cool because every Halloween, or like at least the weekend before, whenever Halloween falls on, they do a car show
Oh, that's
mixed with
fun.
trunk or treating. So it's like all old cars and they all decorate their cars. So it's still pretty fun for my son and it's new for me. And it's still devastating that we can't go walk the streets trick or treating.
You're like, I want this for my child.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about kids' toys for a second.
Okay, yes, please. I have a
Yeah.
7-year-old, so let's
Oh,
do it.
perfect. Yeah. So here's the first thing for all the moms. The toy season is not forever. Because I think that when we're in it, we don't see the outside of it. It does not last forever. When they hit about 10, the toys really fall off and everything moves to being with their friends, doing things, and electronics. So enjoy the toy season while you have it. And for the toys, do a rotation because kids today have so much, right? They have so much. And, everyone wants to buy them something. The family wants to buy them all kinds of stuff. And if you do buckets, you can do buckets and bins and rotate things through. The favorites stay, but the non-favorites can rotate through. And that way it feels every couple of weeks or every other month or something like that, they feel like they've got a whole new section of toys and then they're interested in them. Because when there's so much for toys, just like adults, we lose we lose our focus and the novelty of it wears off. When
Mhm.
something's novel, it's more interesting. So by keeping that rotation of toys, they play with all of them or they play with more of
Mm,
them more often.
I like that. And some kids do that naturally. My son will go from his Legos to a specific game on the PlayStation, and then he'll get bored with that and he'll move to like drawing, and then he'll move like he naturally just he doesn't want to stick to one thing because he gets bored. And I think that's kind of cool that we haven't had to encourage it, um and that he does it on his own. And I realize that not all kids are the same. So
Yeah, that's pretty awesome though.
yeah. So
Yeah. And, things in the kitchen can be the same way. Like rotate some stuff around, move it around so that you can. And the other thing is, if you're moving your stuff around, you're lifting and you're squatting and you're using your muscles more. And isn't that
exactly, yeah.
fun?
Yeah. And all those little baby steps, they still count as steps.
There's still steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it when I can do like 5 miles and I've never left a closet.
Yeah.
I
I
get home
love
at the end of the
that.
day. My husband's like, "How far did you walk today?" I'm like, "Well, I was in a 12 by 12 closet and I moved 5 miles.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, I climbed 6 flights of stairs and I never left the closet."
Oh, sometimes I wish I had my Fitbit when I was a waitress.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I did 8-hour shifts, sometimes 9,
If
sometimes
you have
10.
waitresses that are listening to this, they need to message
Mhm.
into you and tell you how many steps they are taking. And let's
Yes,
find out what that
please.
average is.
Please, listeners, and then I will message you and let you know.
Yeah, I would be insanely curious to know that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but so when you let go of some of that extra stuff that's hanging around and it's cluttering up your time schedule and it's cluttering up your energy level and it's cluttering up your relationship level because you've got so much stuff and you start letting some of that go, you feel so much better and then life gets better. And you have
Mm,
more time to do the things that you want to do. Because trust me, you don't want to spend an entire Saturday cleaning your garage. You want to spend maybe an hour working on some stuff, and then you want to go out and enjoy the day. You want to go and go get waffles with your kid, or go ride your bike in the park, or get a kite and fly it. Do
yeah,
something fun that's relationship building and interaction and movement and all the good things.
yeah. And I love that you say that too, because what came to me was even when you're looking at the mess and not doing anything, it's still taking up the energy in your mind that you're doing something, and it's usually just freezing. Um, so yeah, I love the take little chunks at a time, because that could be super helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really interesting, Einstein even comments on it, is that as you create the clutter as you're doing stuff, right?
Hmm.
As you're living life, as you straighten it up, you're giving your mind a break from focusing on whatever it's been focusing on, and that's where your brilliant ideas come in. That's why when you take a shower, you have all these ideas
Yeah.
because you gave your mind a break. So doing something like vacuuming or cleaning off the countertop is kind of mundane and it gives your brain a break so you can focus on something else.
Yeah, your creativity can come out. I recently heard somebody talk about let yourself be bored.
Hmm.
Like You don't have to bring your phone in with you on the toilet. Just let yourself be bored.
I actually
Yeah.
recently started that. I was like, that's it. I'm not going to pick it up every time. Like if I'm waiting at a stoplight, or if I'm sitting in the line at the store, or if
Hmm.
I'm waiting for somebody for a meeting, I'm not just going to pick up my phone. I'm going to stare out the window. I'm
Yeah.
going to watch something move in the breeze. I'm watch people walk by.
Yeah. And not to say that, we should demonize our cell phones, and we don't need them as much as we think we do. They're
No.
useful in their own right, and we don't need to, have our face glued to them all the time. And I'm including myself in that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely addictive. It's kind of
Hmm.
it's yeah. Well, it's designed to. It's
Right.
designed to suck us in.
Hmm.
So to put it down and take that break is a good thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you get to listen to great things like podcasts like this,
Exactly.
which is a
And if,
good thing.
yeah, and if you're not moving in a car, you can watch it. And you can see what we look like.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I have one more question for you.
I have one more
And
answer for you.
I ask everyone at the end of every episode, and that is, if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
I had an answer for this, and I've had like five answers for this. So I think the most important one that I've uncovered is that no matter what, you are worthy, you are enough,
Hmm.
and
Short and sweet.
that would be it. You're worthy and you're enough.
I love it.
I think so many people, when they have clutter, or when they've been listening to all of this stuff that advertisements tell us, you're not good enough unless you've had Botox and makeup and blonde hair, and you're a size 2, and you can run a marathon while pushing a stroller and cooking up dinner on the side, and all of those things, that you're not good enough. And you are good enough. You're good enough just the way you are. That's why you're here.
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Beautiful beasts, Leanne Hofer, signing off. Until next time.